I do believe Paul's message holds great urgency. As a nation, we face real challenges. That's why we fight for a democracy. That's why we fight for a democracy. Every voice is important. Every voice is important. Every voice is important. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, it seems as if this is becoming a running theme of the Kamala campaign, which is that everywhere she goes, she is getting heckled and booed. Yesterday, we did a video about Kamala Harris getting heckled and booed at the Beyonce concert, in which Beyonce was supposed to be performing. This is what the mainstream liberal media and the Kamala campaign told the people, except they pulled a bait and switch to get a bunch of people to show up for Beyonce, and Beyonce spoke for 4 minutes about abortion and then left, right? And the audience let Kamala Harris know that they didn't really appreciate that, okay? Now, we have this black church event in Philadelphia in which Kamala Harris is speaking with her black accent, and she got heckled again in the middle of her sermon. Now, I think that this is symbolic of the direction of her campaign, okay, which is south, okay? It is tanking fast. I mean, even the mainstream liberal media, they are continuing to sound the alarm on the fact that Trump is now gaining the momentum, and momentum has come to a screeching halt for Kamala Harris. Take a look.
By national political correspondent Steve Kornacki. Steve, this race is incredibly tight in the home stretch.
Yeah, absolutely, Kristen. One thing we have noticed in the last couple of days, this is not all of the polls that are out there now, but we have seen a number, 4 in the last 4 days, that have shown very small, but in the context of this close race, potentially meaningful movement in Trump's direction. I don't want to overstate it, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore these 4. The CNBC poll came out the other day, has Trump ahead by 2. The Wall Street Journal poll, Trump ahead by 3. These are national numbers. Siena and the New York Times, a tied race. CNN, a tied race. The significance here is broader movement. Again, we're seeing in Trump's direction. Also from that CNBC poll, looking at this question of persuadable voters, defining them this way. How about this? 12% in the CNBC poll who currently say they support Harris or Trump say that they could change their mind still in this race. Another 6% say they're undecided or currently going to vote for a third-party candidate. That's a persuadable category of 18%. That's getting close to 1 in 5 voters here. And the uncertainty is particularly acute for Donald Trump. We tell you, maybe he's made some gains here, but his support continues to run deepest with voters who it is unclear if they're actually going to turn out and vote. Look at it this way. From our NBC polling, a merge of all of our data, those who voted in the 2020 presidential election and the 2022 midterms, Harris with a 6-point lead, the most reliable block of voters. Those who only voted in the 2020 presidential, that's where Trump opens up a lead. And then those who didn't vote in either, that's where Trump has his biggest advantage over Harris. Are they actually going to vote this time around? Huge question mark. Another way to look at it, we ask folks, scale of 1 to 10, your interest in this election. Again, look at this. Those who rate it the highest, 9 or 10, races tied, 7 or 8, pretty high. Harris is ahead. Here's where Trump cleans up. Those who say 1 to 6. So again, Trump relying on a coalition that, if they turn out, could be powerful for him, Kristen, but that's a big if.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, so basically, the more people that vote, the higher the turnout, the more likely it is that Trump is going to win, okay? Because the people who are the most frustrated with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are the so-called low propensity voters, right? The voters that don't really participate like that unless they're angry, right? Unless they want change. And the group that she's struggling with the most, the group that I hope decides the outcome of this election is, man, something that Kamala Harris admitted to in a staged photo op with Gretchen Whitmer as her and Kamala Harris pretend to enjoy some beers together at a bar in Michigan. Take a look.
So, everyone's trying to sit yeah. Oh, we have microphones in here. Listening to everything. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. So, well,
You'll
now you
bleep
tell
my
us.
F words.
We just told all the family secrets. Shit. Anyway, it's good to see you.
Okay, and Kamala Harris was actually confronted on the fact that her campaign is tanking, and the polls are starting to show that her campaign is tanking, and she went full-blown cope. Take a look.
Madam Vice President, can you give us a sense of your internal polling at the campaign and how that is making or influencing your decisions on what to do over the next 9 days?
So, to be very frank with you, my internal polling is my instinct. I let the campaign people deal with all that other stuff. And I am responding to what I'm seeing. I mean, just 2 nights ago, we had 30,000 people show up. I think it was actually more than 30,000 people, with an incredible amount of enthusiasm. If you see the people who are showing up last night, every event that we do, and the feeling is one of energy and excitement. What I love about the folks who are showing up is it's every walk of who we are as a country and as Americans, every race, age, gender, from all different kinds of backgrounds together under one roof. It's very exciting. The number of young people, you know, I've begun to really point out the first-time voters who are there, is now people are actually registered, and it's very exciting, and the momentum is with us.
Do you need to win Pennsylvania to win this election?
Thank you. Pennsylvania will be key, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? So Kamala Harris claims that the polls that she listens to are her instincts, okay? And if that is the case, then that's probably a very, very, very bad sign, okay? Because Kamala Harris and her instincts told her to pick Tim Walz as her running mate. And it turns out that Tim Walz has not been very helpful towards the Kamala Harris campaign when it comes to getting men on board with her campaign, right? In fact, that guy may be one of the worst vice presidential picks in American history, to be honest with you, okay? So with that being said, Kamala Harris and her handlers have decided that, hey, we don't need to distance ourselves from Tim Walz, okay? That's not the white guy that we should distance ourselves from. Actually, the white guy that we should distance ourselves from is Joe Biden, right? That is what apparently is happening behind closed doors, because this is something I've talked about before in the past, is that there is conflict between Kamala's team and Joe Biden's team. They're now pointing the fingers at each other because they believe that Kamala is going to lose. So now they're playing the blame game, okay? And Kamala Harris, apparently, over the next few days leading up to the election, she is going to snub Joe Biden's request to campaign for her, right? So Biden wants to campaign on her behalf, and Kamala Harris is saying no, because she's trying to distance herself from Joe Biden. Because recently, when we've seen Joe Biden out in public giving speeches, he hasn't looked too good. Take a look.
Introduction. And to the Gila Indian River community, the Gila, nothing wrong with me, Gila River Indian community, for welcoming me today. You know, I say this with all sincerity. This, to me, is one of the most consequential things I've ever had an opportunity to do in my whole career as President of the United States. It's an honor, a genuine honor, to be in this special place on this special day. Thank you to Senator Mark Kelly, a great friend who also was married to an incredible woman who was my friend. Please have a seat, by the way. And Congressman Greg Stanton. I saw Greg when I came in. He's over there somewhere. Greg, thank you. And I'm putting these glasses on because I'm having trouble seeing this.
A US news publication is reporting Kamala Harris is ghosting Joe Biden on the campaign trail as she tries to distance herself from the Biden administration. Meanwhile, her aspiring deputy, Tim Walz, has accused Donald Trump of trying to copy the Nazis. Sky News Washington correspondent Annalise Nielsen is on the ground in Somerset, Pennsylvania, one of the most important battleground states this election. Annalise, Donald Trump appears to have packed out Madison Square Garden.
Look, people have been lining up all day, and the pictures we're starting to see from inside ahead of this event looks like every single seat is taken. We know Donald Trump can draw a big crowd, especially when he shows up on time, as he's been getting later and later for his events. People have been thinning out in the crowds, but they know this is a big one. They want to have that big, successful presentation ahead of the last week of campaigning. It's the same reason we're going to see Kamala Harris in Washington, D.C., where she knows she can pull a big crowd as well. What we're not seeing on the campaign trail is Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. As you referenced before, this report was from Axios that Kamala Harris has been ghosting the Biden administration, that Joe Biden's put a few days in his calendar to be out on the campaign, and they simply haven't eventuated because they are concerned that he's not helping her election prospects.
Yeah, so there are multiple issues with Kamala Harris trying to distance herself from Joe Biden at the last minute. The main reason being that voters do not feel that Kamala Harris is any different from Joe Biden, right? A majority of the voters feel like, hey, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are basically the same, okay? And Joe Biden is the most unpopular president that we've had in recent history. And Kamala Harris has already admitted out loud for the world to hear on The View that, yeah, I'm not that different from Joe Biden. I would not have done anything differently from Joe Biden. I would have did everything that Joe Biden did. And also at CNN, when she had a chance to actually articulate anything that she would do differently than Joe Biden, she declined to do so, right? I mean, this is a hole that she's dug herself into, and now all of a sudden she's trying to dig herself out of the hole by not being seen with Joe Biden, right? But again, it's not her being seen with Joe Biden. That's not the problem. The problem is that she cannot articulate anything that would be different about her next administration than the first 4 years of her and Joe Biden. And Kamala Harris was roasted at the Trump Madison Square Garden rally over the fact that, again, she's unable to differentiate herself from Joe Biden.
Now, we're, of course, in one of the proud baseball cities in the United States of America. So you know the problem with a softball interview is that you've got to be able to hit a softball still. And that's the problem with Kamala Harris, is I don't think that she could hit a T-ball based on what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. When she was asked what she would do differently compared to Joe Biden, she said, nothing comes to mind. She's running on how she's going to be different, but she couldn't name a single thing that she would do differently than Joe Biden. Now, I will say that could be the Kamala Harris official campaign slogan. Kamala Harris, nothing comes to mind.
And the only celebration bigger than this one right now is going to be on the evening of November 5th when we send Donald J. Trump back to the White House as your 47th president and commander-in-chief. And I'm looking around here. There's only one man who is going to be more happy than everybody else in this room when that happens, and that is going to be a man by the name of Joe Biden, actually. He is so pissed off about what they did to him. And you know, he's thinking it, but I'm going to say it. Identity politics never works in America. When you select somebody on the basis of their race and their gender, it always ends up being a disaster. And I'm actually talking about Tim Walz this time, by the way. It goes both ways.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with Vivek. Okay, the only person that will be happier than Trump himself and all of us when Trump wins, if Trump wins, is Joe Biden, right? Because Joe Biden is probably going to be throwing a I told you so celebration, especially considering how Kamala Harris is distancing herself from Joe Biden in the last few days leading up to the election, okay? They want Joe Biden to go out there and to campaign on her behalf. However, Kamala Harris is saying no, right? Her team has said, no, Joe. Stay in the White House, stay in the basement, right? We don't want you out here. Now, Joe Biden personally is probably going to be very offended by this because Joe Biden feels like his agenda was good. He feels like he's been a great president and, you know, he wants to be out there to help Kamala Harris, okay? Now, he's still salty about them staging a coup against him, but at the same time, he, in my opinion, wants to feel useful, right? He wants to feel like a popular president who is helping his team win, right? And Democrats, I think, tossing him aside before the election is going to increase the chances of if/when Trump wins, Biden coming out and really spilling the beans, right? And I cannot wait for that to happen, okay? The person that I want to hear from first after Trump wins is Joe Biden, okay? I want to hear what Joe Biden has to say because I think he will instantly become the world's most interesting man when/if Trump wins, okay? And what you're seeing here is the Democrat Party slowly but surely imploding, right? They are pointing fingers at each other. They are now saying, hey, we don't want to be seen together with each other. This is what happens when you're losing, okay? The losing team falls apart, right? They find it hard to work together when they're losing. They get frustrated and they start playing the blame game, and that's exactly what's happened to Kamala Harris. She's getting booed left and right. Her poll numbers are declining. She's losing the momentum. They're getting desperate, okay? They are just essentially campaigning on Trump derangement because they don't have anything anymore, right? They have nothing at all whatsoever. And what we're witnessing is the current collapse of the Democrat Party in real time. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.